Welcome to this first session of the 13th Adhyaya of Sri Bhagavad Gita. We start with our gratitude towards the Lord, with whose grace everything is possible. We pray to this Guru Shishya Parampara through which this knowledge is preserved, transmitted and protected so as to be available to us. I pay my respects to my Guruji, Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn these scriptures and share this understanding with you. We start with a prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So 13th Adhyaya of the Gita Ji is called the Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, and this is a very important Adhyaya because it is the crux of the message of Gita Ji, and Gita Ji, as we all know, is the crux of the message of Upanishads, and that's why this Adhyaya assumes, especially the first two shlokas, assume a lot of importance. The Gita Ji is divided into three parts. As we all know, it is consisting of 18 adhyayas, and this is subdivided into, of course, there are no such subdivisions in Gita Ji, but all the Mahapurusha and Santa have together divided this into three different parts, which are called three Shatakas. The first 6 adhyayas is called the Prathama Shataka, and this gives us the paramarthic nature of the true nature of the Jiva Swarupa. That is the Tvam Padartha. When Guruji tells the Shishya the Tvam, Tattvam, Asi, Tvam Padartha, Nirupana, or the Jiva Padartha, or the Jiva Swarupa. What is the original Swarupa, or the true nature of the Jiva? So in the second Adhyaya, Bhagavan started showing the true Swarupa of the Jiva, which is Avyaya, Nitya, Ajo, Nitya, Shashvato, Na Jayate, Na Priyate, Kadachita, that it is Avyaya Swarupa, Atma Swarupa of the Jiva. And then Bhagavan went on to talk about Karma Yoga, how we can attain this by Karma Yoga, third Adhyaya. And then the fourth Adhyaya, how we can understand Akarta Swarupa and still remain in Karma Yoga. And then fifth Adhyaya was Karma Sannyasa, and the sixth Adhyaya was Dhyana Yoga or Atma Sanyama Yoga, in which we can realize this, our own Atma Swarupa or the Jiva Swarupa. The second Shataka, or the second 6 parts of the Adhyaya, was from the 7th to the 12th Adhyaya, which we have already done recently, which tells us about the true nature of Ishvara, the Ishvara Swarupa, which is the Tat Swarupa. And the 7th Adhyaya, Bhagavan described the Gnana Vijnana Yoga. 8th Adhyaya was the Akshara Brahma Yoga. 9th Adhyaya was the Raja Vidya Raja Huya Yoga. And then 10th Adhyaya, Bhagavan showed the Vibhutis. In the 11th, the Vishwarupa Darshana, and the 12th Adhyaya was the Bhakti Yoga, how we can connect to the divine. So in this, the real nature of the Tat Padartha, how Ishvara is Sarva Vyapaka, what is the Ishvara, what is that Gnana, how we can realize this by Bhakti. And then now from the third Shataka, we start the third Shataka, the final Shataka, or the final 6 Adhyayas, starting from the 13th to the 18th Adhyaya, which assimilates all these knowledge into one, so that we can understand Advaita principle of the Vedanta, how everything is one, how the real Swarupa of the Jiva and the real Swarupa of the Ishvara and the real Swarupa behind the Jagata, which has been described in the 10th and the 11th Adhyaya, all this is one, and this is a foundation, the Jiva Ishvara Aikya, and this is the true knowledge, how we can assimilate this knowledge in us, what is the vision of the Lord, what Lord unfolds this vision in front of us, and this is the 13th Adhyaya, it's the beginning of the 13th Adhyaya. The Prayojana, or the purpose of all our scriptures, is to remove our ignorance about ourself, and most of our problems in our life is because of our ignorance. Our Shastras tell us that it is this avidya or ajnana which is there, which hides the true nature of ourself. Ajnanena avrutam jnanam. And Bhagavan has told this repeatedly in Gita Ji, how this ajnana works. It leads to kama, krodha. All these are because of the ajnana. And this ajnana gives rise to a bhranti, a kind of a misperception of the reality. We are not able to see what is the reality. Instead, we see something that is not the real as unreal, and what is unreal, we see it as real. So this is the Bhranti which has to be, first it has to be dissolved, and then we have to see the real nature of the self, of the Jiva, the Jagata, and the Ishvara Swarupa to understand what Lord is trying to tell us. And this Ajnana Nivrutti is possible only by Atma Jnana. Knowing the true nature of our own self is the solution for this freedom. That is what all our Shastras point us. But there is something called eligibility. There is something called Adhikaritva for this self-knowledge. In the 12th Adhyaya, Bhagavan said, Ananya Bhakti is the only way to attain me. Na Ananya Bhakti, it cannot be attained no by no Veda, no Adhyayana, no Jnana, no Dana, no Tapa. No way we can achieve the Almighty, only by Ananya Bhakti, Bhagavan described in the 12th Adhyaya. In the 13th Adhyaya, the main subject matter is the Atma Jnana, self-knowledge. Again, Bhagavan is trying to tell us. And in the 10th and the 11th Adhyaya, Bhagavan also described how Jagata, we should see it as a Karya Karana Swarupa, how it comes from the Ishvara and how it is one with the Ishvara, how we can develop that vision, the cosmic form of the Lord, as Jagata is unfolding as the cosmic form of the Lord, initially starting with seeing the Vibhutis of the Lord as described in the 10th Adhyaya, and then in the 11th Adhyaya, the Vishwarupa Darshan. In 13th Adhyaya, Bhagavan describes how Jiva is same as the Ishvara, what is that Jnana, but to assimilate that knowledge, what our Shastras and Guruji tell us is that the Shuddhi, Antakarana Shuddhi, purity of our inner mind is most important, and only then we can understand this Atma Jnana. Without this Shuddhi, it is not possible that this knowledge can be imbibed in our own self. And that's why in this Adhyaya, Bhagavan also describes the Sadguna Sampatti, 20 Sadguna moral values described from the 7th to the 11th shlokas of this Adhyaya 13th, which helps. It is basically meant for the seekers, Jignasu, one who wants to know the truth. And when this Sadguna come into us, we imbibe this, we learn this, we understand this, we put it into our life, into our practice, then we become eligible for understanding this Atma Jnana, without which Guruji says it is not just possible. Without this Sadguna, it is no way it is possible to understand, to assimilate this knowledge or this self-knowledge. Now the 13th Adhyaya starts with a shloka which is not there in many of the Gitajis, and most of the Mata or the schools of thought, they believe that this shloka was added later on, which is Arjuna asks a question at the beginning of the 13th Adhyaya, but most of the opinion or the school of thought believe that it starts with the Bhagavan's answer rather than Arjuna's question. But let us understand what was Arjuna's question so that we can also then understand what Bhagavan has to say. And let us start with this Arjuna's question, which was, this is a shloka which is believed by many that it was added later on, and that's why I have not given a number to this shloka. Arjuna uvacha prakrutim purusham chaiva kshetram kshetrajnameva cha etad vidditumicchami gnanam gneyam cha keshava. So Arjuna speaks, Arjuna asks a question. This Adhyaya starts, this is what he says: O Keshava, etat veditumicchami, I wish to know, I want to know, I have a desire to know. Prakrutim purusham cha eva, I want to know what is Prakruti and who is the Purusha. Says Kshetrajnam Kshetrajna eva cha. What is Kshetra and who is Kshetrajna? I also want to know this. Gnanam Gneyam cha. What is knowledge and what is worth knowing? What is Gneya? What is that which is worth knowing? I want to understand. So there are three questions that Arjuna asks. In essence, it is just one question, but it is different terms are used because Arjuna, in his mind, probably he is not still able to understand the differences in these terms. Essentially, when Lord answers, it will make him very clear that what is Kshetra is what is Prakruti, and what is Kshetrajna is who is the Purusha. It's one and the same. In Bhagavan has already described about Prakruti, Purusha, Viveka in the 7th Adhyaya in the beginning. In the 4th and the 5th shloka, Bhagavan says Apara Prakruti, and my Para Prakruti is said Ashtada Prakruti, the eightfold Apara Prakruti, and Jiva Bhutam Mahabaho, Yayedam dharyate jagata. The Jiva Bhuta is my Paraprakriti. But here, what Arjuna wants to know is what is Kshetra and what is Kshetrajna. And let us understand what Lord unfolds his vision. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetramitya Vidhiyate Etadhyo Vettitam Prahuhu Kshetrajna iti Tadvidaha. So Bhagavan answers Arjuna's question, or he speaks to begin with, because this is also considered as the first shloka, that there was no question, but Bhagavan is changing the topic after the 12th adhyaya, and he's turning and changing the topic and going to some new words which is going to describe Kshetra and Kshetrajna. And Bhagavan is telling Arjuna, O Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, is saying, Idam Shariram Kshetram iti abhidhiyate. O Arjuna, this body is known as a Kshetra. Kshetra is a field. Let us understand it in a little bit more details in the next slide. Etad yovetti kshetrajna iti tam prahuhu. He says, one who knows this, the knower of this kshetra or knower of this field is known as the kshetrajna. Iti tad vidaha tam prahuhu. One who knows both these, kshetra, kshetrajna, both these elements in real sense, nature, have said tam prahuhu, means those are the people who have said this, that this is the Kshetra and this is the Kshetrajna. So in essence, let us understand what Bhagavan says when he says idam shariram kshetram. The sharira is the Kshetra. He's putting his finger maybe on the sharira of Arjuna or on his own body, is showing that this is the Kshetra, and the one who is the knower of this body, sharira, is the Kshetrajna. One who is knower of all this is the Kshetrajna. So let us understand what is Kshetra, what is Kshetrajna. So Kshetra word itself means a place of, say, pilgrimage or a battlefield, because if you recollect recollect the first shloka of the first adhyaya of Sri Bhagavad Gita starts with Dhritarashtra Uvacha Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Mama Veta Yuyutsavaha Mamaka Pandavashaiva Kimakurvatapa Bharata Sanjaya. So he asks, Dhritarashtra asks the question to Sanjaya, what are these, my own Kauravas and these Pandavas, what are they doing in Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra? So that is the, Kshetra is the word which is used there. Kshetra essentially means a place. But here it is, Bhagavan when uses the word Kshetra is for a vertical purpose, and Ksha abranches into Kha, and it means field, Khetra. Khetra or Khetara means field. Field means the field is where we sow the seeds and the crop is harvested. So this is a field, and Bhagavan says this body is like a field, because this is the place where we have the capacity to sow something so that there can be a harvest. So this is the body which is like a sadhana to do our karma, through which we can sow the seeds of karma, and there is a harvest of the karma phala. So this is what Bhagavan is trying to tell us, that this body is like a field. So here all our karma, all our actions are like seeds which we sow into this field of the body, and the karma phala are like the fruits of the action or the harvest that we reap. And this, as we sow, as you reap, is like a very nice saying. We all know this, and it is as true as in karma phala theory, which is also a rule or the law of the nature which has been designed and devised and put in place by the Lord. Whatever we do, our karma, similarly we will get the karma phala. Maybe in this life, maybe in the next life, maybe now, maybe later, we don't know when this karma phala will be matured enough to give me the fruits, but it will definitely happen. And this karma is not just outwardly karma, the physical or the gross karma, but it is the sukshma karma, the bhavana, the attitude with which we do this karma, as we have already discussed in Karma Yoga. The other meaning of Kshetra, as our Guruji explains, is Sharanat iti Kshetram, which is the constantly moving, sliding or changing. That's called Sarati iti Kshetra, something that keeps moving, that keeps sliding. And we know that this Sansara, this Jagata keeps moving, everything keeps moving, changing, destroying. And this body also similarly goes through all the changes as it is born, Shadavikara. It keeps changing, Jayate, Asti, Jayate, Vardate, Parinamate, Apakshiyate, Vinashyati. All the Shadavikara it has to go through this body. So it is also called a Kshetra. The third meaning of the Kshetra word is Shatatranat. iti kshetram means which protects us from destruction. And this human life or this human body is the only birth that we have, which is considered according to our Shastras as very durlabha, as very rare. So that here there is a potential for us to not go into a destruction, adhogati, but to uplift ourselves and uddhara. Our own self we can do uddhara, samudhara or uddhara, and we can go towards the, from dharma, karma, kama, artha to moksha prayojana, which can lead to real upliftment of our own life. We can, get ourselves relieved from the sansara bandhana, and we can be relieved from this bondage of birth, death, birth, death. So that is only possible in this human life, and that's why it is called kshetram. And the fourth meaning is shayat. It is something that keeps decaying over a period of time, something that also causes violence, maybe something unknowingly or unknowingly, and that is called kshetra. And Bhagavan says, idam shariram kshetram. And it is, each word is very important. Bhagavan says idam. Idam means this. In Sanskrit, idam is this. Something that we can experience, something that can be objectified, something that can be seen, smelled, touched, something that can be experienced is called this. And for us, it is very easy to experience material outside in this world. We can experience, we can say that this is some object, and we can say this is an object, this is a shirt, this, we can see all the objects outside. This is my car, this is my house, this is my wife. Everybody I can see outside. But when it comes to our body, sometimes we reflect it as I, sometimes we reflect it as this, and that's why this confusion. And that's why Bhagavan starts from this body. He says, idam shariram kshetram. This sharira is something that can be experienced. This world is a kshetra. It is a field, it can be experienced. There are all the objects which I experience, which I understand, which I know, and I relate with them, with all the objects. So this I can very easily understand. But when it comes to my own body, it sometimes becomes very difficult for us. We feel that I am the body, and that's why I don't consider myself as a part or other from the body, and we consider that I am the subject of the experience rather than the object of the experience. But what Bhagavan is trying to tell us here is that aham, I, one who is the experiencer of this body, the kshetrajna, one who is subject, is different from the object. This body is the object, it is the kshetra, and aham, I, who is truly the experiences this body, who can experience this body. I am not this body, I am separate from this body, because I can see this body, I can feel this body, I can touch this body, I can smell the body, I can experience this body. So that's why I am not this body, I am different from this body. That is what Bhagavan is telling us in this shloka. So kshetra, Bhagavan says idam kshetra. Whatever is this, whatever can be experienced, whatever is objectivized is idam, is kshetra. And something that cannot be experienced, something that cannot be objectivized, it is not an object of reference, but it is a subject through which all the other objects can be seen or they can be, experienced, is called the kshetrajna. I, aham, is the kshetrajna. I am the knower of all these objects. And that's why what we summarize from this, Bhagavan is trying to tell us is that the Jagat is idam, it is this, it is very easily experienceable for us. But the Sharira, and the Sharira is not just the physical body. When Bhagavan says Sharira, it also means the physical and the psychological body, or the Stula Sharira, the Sukshma Sharira, the subtle body or the psychological body, even including our mind, senses, intellect, and all this. That all is part of the Kshetra. Idam, it is all part of it, is because I can experience all this. And Bhagavan says aham, who is the experiencer, who is the subject, who is the Chaitanya, who is the Atma Tattva, is the aham padartha, because through which we experience everything. And this is what Bhagavan says. But the problem for us is with this body only, where this Sharira, Indriya, Mana, Buddhi, we use sometimes as idam, sometimes we use it as aham, sometimes we use it as this, sometimes we use it as I am unhappy, I am happy, I am unhappy. So this is what I use it. And that's why sometimes it becomes difficult for us to understand whether we are talking of the Sharira, Indriya, Man. But Bhagavan makes it very clear here that idam shariram kshetram, this Sharira is this. This is the object of the experience. This is not what you are really. So Bhagavan is giving us this clarity that I am the knower of the body. The body is anatma, it is a kshetra, it is changing. I am the witness, I am the atma of this body. So what Bhagavan is trying to tell us is giving us the discrimination viveka, which is one of the prakriyas of the Vedanta, how we can understand from the known, we go towards unknown, we understand what we cannot understand normally. And that is the kshetra, kshetragna viveka is what Bhagavan is doing here. And this can be described in different ways on different terminologies. It can also be called as drashta, drashya vivek, as it is said in Vedanta. It is the seer and the seen vivek, drashta, or the drak is the one who sees, is the one who knows, the one who experiences everything is the drashta. Here Bhagavan says kshetragna is drashta, and drashya is the seen, whatever is seen, what is the object of the experience, whatever we can see. And Bhagavan says the idam shariram is also kshetra, it is the drashya, it is seen, and that's why it is different from the drashta. The other terminology that is used in Vedanta is called nitya, anitya viveka. Nitya means something that is permanent, anitya means something that keeps changing. We know that this jagata keeps changing, but even the body keeps changing. It is very clear to us that it undergoes lots of modification right from the time we were born. We were child, then we became adolescent, we became adult, and then we go into old age and decay, and finally the body is no more. So all these changes are very clear to us, and this changing anitya is the kshetra. Whatever is nitya, always there, permanent, which does not keep changing, is the kshetragna. That is what Bhagavan tries to tell us. Jada chetana viveka. Right from the childhood, when we start learning, we understand that there is something like non-living beings, there are living beings, and wherever we see movement, we see this in the body, and that's why we feel that the body is the living being. It's according to our, how we learn. But our shastras, our scriptures tell us, the jada chetana viveka, that even this body is jada, because it becomes chetan because of the, because it gets the chetana, it borrows this chetana from the Atma Chaitanya, and through which this body also gets illuminated, becomes chetanvanta, becomes moving, gets all the movements. So this is the jada chetana viveka which we need to understand. The second shloka, Bhagavan says, Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetragnayor gnanam yattaj gnanam matam mama. So Bhagavan, in this shloka, which is considered to be a very, very important shloka of Gita Ji, Bhagavan is telling us that Kshetragnam cha api mam vidhi, know me as the Kshetragna. He has already said what is Kshetra, and now he is saying Kshetragna rupe, aap mujhe jano, you know me, that I am the Kshetragna, sarva kshetreshu bharata. Of all these bodies, all the bodies, not just one body, I am the Kshetragna of all the bodies. Mam vidhi, know me. It's a singular form. It is not that for every body there is a different Kshetragna, there is a different Bhagavana or different Atma. It is the one that is the Kshetragna of all, and that is the Ishvara, that is the Lord, that is the Bhagavana, that is can be, and this is what Bhagavan is trying to tell us. Behind all these bodies, the knower, know me as that knower, know me. Bhagavan is telling us, Kshetra, Kshetragna, Yah Gnanam. The knowledge of this Kshetra, who is the Kshetra, what is the Kshetragna, Bhagavan says, that is Yattaj Gnanam Matam Mama. It is a true knowledge in the vision of the Lord, in the opinion of the Lord. This is a real knowledge which we need to understand, because this is the foundation, this is the basis of all other knowledge. This is the real knowledge that Bhagavan wants to give us, and that is the entire purpose of Gita Ji. And with this understanding, our vision can become very different, and this is what we need to know. So in the first and the second shloka itself are the summary of the Vedanta knowledge. As we know, the Tatparya or the Nishchay, Tatparya Nishchay of the Vedanta is in what is called as the Mahavakya. Mahavakya is something like Aham Brahmasmi, Ayam Atma Brahma Tattvam Asi. All these are called Mahavakyas, which are there in the Upanishads, in the Vedas. And this Gita Ji shlok, the second shloka, is also considered, the first and the second shlokas are also considered like a Mahavakya, because here Bhagavan is giving us that entire summary of that Vedantic knowledge. Bhagavan is telling us to summarize again, know that idam, kshetra, which can be experienced, jagata, easily experienceable, but even Bhagavan is telling us clearly that this sharira is a kshetra, It is something that can be seen, it can be objectivized, it can be experienced. Bhagavan says, know that Kshetrajna, you are the Kshetrajna, but know that you are that Kshetrajna, you are the knower. Whoever is the knower of this body, if I know this body, I am the knower of this body, I am the Kshetrajna. So Aham, who is the Kshetrajna. And then in the second shloka, Bhagavan says, know me as the Kshetrajna in all the Kshetras or all the bodies. Not just bodies, even the Jagata everywhere, all the Kshetra, everything that is known, Bhagavan says, know me as the Kshetrajna. And that itself is like a Mahavakya. It is said, I am that. I, who is the knower of my body, is nothing, is no different than the knower, Bhagavan, who is the knower of all the bodies. So Tattvam Asi, Aham Brahmasmi. These are the Mahavakyas, and the same meaning Bhagavan is trying to tell us here, that Atma is nothing else but Paramatma, Jiva and Ishwar are one and the same. I myself who appear, who think that I am very limited in my body, mind, intellect, because of this conditioning of myself with this complex of the Antakarana Upadhi, and because of this I feel the incompleteness, limitedness of my powers, my energies, my Shakti, my intellect, my mind. But in a sense, I am the unlimited, Purna, complete, Sarvavyapaka, Brahma, and that is the ultimate knowledge which Vedanta tells us, that I am free. I just need to know this, I need to realize this, and this realization only comes with this Atma Jnana. So Bhagavan here is telling us about the two Vidyas. He says Apara Vidya, knowledge of the world. We keep learning a lot about the world, about common knowledge, general knowledge, or even specific knowledge related to our profession. Somebody is an architect, learns about the construction. Somebody is a medical doctor, learns about the body, different parts. Somebody who is an engineer learns about machines. A computer person learns about the computer. So these are all the knowledge of different parts of the world, and these are called Aparavidya. But in the vision of the Lord, Bhagavan says that the Paravidya, the knowledge of our real self, the Atma Swarupa, is the knowledge which is Vedyam, which is worth knowing, which is the real knowledge, and this is the foundation or the basis of all the knowledge. In the third shloka, Bhagavan says, Tat Kshetram Yaccha Yadrakcha Yad Vikari Yatascha Yata Sachayo Yat Prabhavascha Tat Samasena Meshrunu. Bhagavan is describing the Kshetra. Now he is giving a little bit more detailed description of the Kshetra. He says, Tat Kshetram Yaccha Yadrakcha. The true nature of the Kshetra I am going to describe to you. Yat Vikari, and along with all its modifications. Yata. Yata means the origin of the Kshetra. From where does it arise from? And what are its different Vikara or different changes or modifications that it undergoes? And it says Yat Prabhava. It's all its energies, the powers, the all the glories of the nature. I'm going to describe to you. Tat Samasena Meshru. You are going to hear from me, Bhagavan says. But Samasena means in brief, I'm going to tell you, not in great details. Meshrunu, Bhagavan is telling Arjuna, Shrunu, Meshrunu, please listen carefully. I'm going to tell you so that you can decide accordingly, but listen carefully. And then in the next shloka, the fourth shloka, Bhagavan says, Rushibhir Bahuda Geetam Chando Bhir Vividhai Pruthaka Brahma Sutra Padaishchaiva Hetumat Bhir Vinishchitaihi. And Bhagavan is now saying that, many people, many rishis, many saints, a lot of other scriptures have spoken about this Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Jnana, which I'm going to tell you now. And Bhagavan is showing his own humility. We know that everything, all these scriptures and all this comes from the Lord. But Bhagavan is telling in utmost humility that all this somebody else before me has already said. I am not telling you, Arjuna, something that is new. Already this had been described earlier. He says, Rushibhihi Bahudha Geetam. Rishis have sung the glories of this knowledge. Geetam. Geeta means singing. Singing of the glories. Bahuda. All the different types of glories Rishio have sung. Chando bihi vidvidai prutaka. Chanda means Vedas. Vedas are the Chanda. They are considered the Chanda. And Vedas have said the same. They have also described the glories of this Gnana, the Atma Gnana. Brahma Sutra Padaschaiva. Brahma Sutra is a very, very important granth which is considered as one of the Prasthantrayi Grantha, because Prasthantrayi are the three basic granthas of the Vedanta. Along with Gita Ji, Brahma Sutra is also considered as a Prasthantrayi. And Brahma Sutra Padas are short statements which tell us about the facts, and they have also described this kind of knowledge. Hetu madbhihi vinishchitaihi. And by hetu means by logic, by reasoning, they have all established this concept clearly. This has been decided very finally. Nishchitaihi, vinishchitaihi. Very well it has been decided finally that this is what is the truth, which is the reality, and only we have to understand this, what Lord is trying to tell us. And Bhagavan says this has all been said previously by Rishis, Vedas, and by in the Brahma Sutra, and in a lot of other scriptures. Brahma Sutra is a depiction of all the scriptures, all the Vedas, Upanishads, Brahma Sutra, all have given the same jnana, the Atma Jnana, and this has been proved by logic, by hetu. And Bhagavan is now describing the modification. He says, Mahabhutanyahankaro buddhiravyaktamevacha Indriyani dashaikam cha panchachendriya gocharaha. So Bhagavan is now a little bit in more details describing the Kshetra, and here he describes the Kshetra in 24 elements, which has been described in the Sankhya philosophy, which is called the Prakriti. But here Bhagavan uses the word Kshetra. Prakriti and Kshetra are almost the same things, they are not different. In the 7th Adhyaya, Bhagavan described the Ashtadha Prakriti, the 8-fold manifestations of Prakriti. The same thing Bhagavan is telling here in a little different way by describing the 24 elements, by detailing all these Mahabhuta, the 5 great elements. Pancha Mahabhuta is discriminated all these into different elements and given the 24 elements of the Kshetra. Mahabhutani Ahankara, the 5 great elements, the Pancha Mahabhuta, and Ahankara, the Samashti ego. Buddhi Avyaktam Evacha. Buddhi means Samashti, intellect, and Avyakta. Avyakta is the Karana, the Maya Shakti of the Lord, through which the entire Avyakta, from Avyakta it becomes Trigunatmika, and then the entire Prakriti or the manifestation arises. So this is the Maya Shakti or the Yogic Shakti of the Lord. Indriyani Dashaikamcha, the 10 sense organs, the Pancha Gnanendriya and the Pancha Karmendriya, and Ekam is the one mind which is beyond all these 10 sense organs, the 5 Gnanendriyas and the 5 Karmendriyas. Pancha Cha Indriya Gocharaha. Indriya Gochara are the 5 objects of the senses, the 5 objects through which we get all the knowledge in our 5 Gnanendriyas, and these are what Bhagavan describes as the 24 elements. So these are all Prakriti. This is, Bhagavan says, this is Kshetra, this is Idam, and when Bhagavan is talking here, he is talking about the Sukshma, Pancha Mahabhuta, the 5 great elements, Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jala, Prithvi, all these 5 great elements from which this Srushti Chakra arises, how this manifestation is created, comes into existence. The other 4 elements are the Ahankara, the Samashti Ahankara. Ekam is the mind, Buddhi, the intellect, and Avyakta, the Maya. The 10 Indriyani, Dasha Indriyani are the 5 Gnanendriyas, which are the Shotra Indriya, the Chakshu Indriya, the Tvage Indriya, the Rasana Indriyas, the Gnanendriyas, through which we gather all the knowledge into our own self. And the 5 Karmendriyas are the ones with which we do all our karmas, our actions. The heart, the Hastendriya, Payundriya, the Vagendriya, the Upastha and the Payustha and the Upastha, the Projanendriya. All these Indriyas, the 5 Gnanendriyas, the eyes, ears, taste, touch and smell. And these are all Sukshma. These are not the ears are itself not the Indriya. The Shakti, the power with which we hear, the power of the hearing is actually the Indriya. So these are only called the Golaka, or the outer organs, the Stula organs through which we can hear and we can see. The Chakshura Indriya can only see through the power of the vision. So that is called the Indriya. The 5 Karmendriyas are our hand, the feet, the speech, our excretion, Payu and Upastha, the progeny through which we procreate. And the 5 objects of senses are the Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, which are the objects through which we gather all this Gnana into our Gnanendriyas. So all these, the 5 Panchamahabhuta, the 4 Antakarana, Avyakta, Maya, the Dasha Indriya, and the 5 objects, the Vishaya, are all together form the 24 elements of the Idam or the Kshetra Prakriti. This forms the Kshetra. So this is in Lord's essence is the Kshetra or the Prakriti. And Bhagavan also describes Ichha dvesha sukham dukkham sanghata chetana drutihi etat kshetram samasena savikara mudahyutam. He says, describes all the modifications of the kshetra prakriti. He says not just this that you see the physical is the kshetra, but even the sukshma, the subtle, the psychological part, the intellectual part, ichha, dvesha, sukham, dukkham, what all we experience, our desires, our dvesha, our anguish, our sukha, dukkha is something that we cannot see, but we can experience all this, and this also becomes part of the kshetra. He says all the sanghata, all this, the physical body, which is the samuha or the sanghata of all these different organs, different systems, different, all this is also the part of the kshetra. It says chetana. Now chetana here we have to understand what one tries to say when he says chetana here. So chetana is a consciousness, the true meaning of chetana, but here he means by saying the reflected consciousness, the antakarana vritti, through which we gather all the knowledge of the outside world, with which we get all the knowledge is through the antakarana vritti. There is a prakriya in Vedanta how antakarana vritti gets this jnana. Similarly, brahmakara vritti gets a brahma jnana. Similarly, all these antakarana vritti will leads to jnana, and this is through the pratibimbit chaitanya. And this pratibimbit or the reflected consciousness is also part of the kshetra. Bhagavan says this is not the real sarvavyapaka brahma chaitanya, which is the universal consciousness, which is the knower, which is the kshetrajna. But here Bhagavan says the reflected consciousness, the pratibimbit chaitanya, through which we gather all the jnana, and which we understand is the knower of ourselves as a jiva, because we identify ourselves with our antakarana as our upadhi, and through which we know all this that is happening in the world, in our body, the physical body, the psychological body, and this is through our pratibimbit chaitanya, and this is also part of the kshetra. That is what Bhagavan is trying to tell us. Dhruti Shakti, all our energies, all our ability to bear, to withstand, our Atma Bala, our self-confidence, all the Shakti is part of the kshetra. Etat kshetram samasena. In brief, this is what I call as kshetra. Bhagavan says, and after this sixth shloka, naturally, after Bhagavan has described savikara udahutam, means along with all the modifications I am telling you, Arjuna, the 13th adhyaya is the kshetra, kshetragna, vibhaga yoga. Bhagavan has described in brief what is the kshetra, all these that we see, the jagata, all these that comes from the manifestation, the prakriti, the 24 elements, sukha, dukkha, ichha, dvesha, all our sukshma sharira, all our pratibimbit chaitanya, and all these Bhagavan says is kshetra, its elements, its modifications. And now Arjuna must have had that question, then what is kshetragna? Please tell me who is the kshetragna. But Bhagavan is telling, okay, please wait. Everybody needs to prepare their own mind to understand kshetragna. It is not that easy to understand kshetragna, because so far it was all seen or experienced. Now kshetragna is something that we cannot see, neither we can experience, which is something beyond our understanding. And that's why we need a little bit preparation of our mind with our regular mindset. It is very difficult to understand what is kshetragna, who is kshetragna. And that's why Bhagavana from now the 7th to the 11th shloka describes the eligibility for this Atma Jnana, this self-knowledge, how we can understand. We need to prepare our mind, we need to mature our mind. And these 5 shlokas Bhagavana describes 20 sadguna or values. And these values can be called as moral values, which all of us need to imbibe in our life. These values can be life-changing values, because it can give us a lot of peace in our life, contentment in our life. Not only that, it can make us eligible to understand this Atma Jnana, and that's why they have a very great benefit. And these values, when we assimilate in our life, it will lessen the gap between our mana and buddhi, because mana and buddhi, this mana is, this antakarana is considered to be the battlefield where there is constant conflict between the mana and the buddhi. Mana wants to do something, buddhi wants to do something, and there is constant this fighting. Buddhi says, no, you can't do this. Mana says, no, I feel like doing this today. And even within the mana, these are these asuri sampattis, the daivi sampattis, which are constantly in conflict with each other, our good values, our virtues and vices, and these are constantly in conflict with each other. And our spiritual journey, our adhyatmic sadhana, is to mature our mind so that the gap between our mana and the buddhi reduces, narrows down. And these values, these 20 sadgunas are for all our seekers. They are not for the wise, they are not for the enlightened, they are not for the bhakta, devotees. Just like in the 12th Adhyaya, Bhagavan described the Atveshta Sarva Bhutanam, a lot of values for the Gnani Bhakta. What are his characteristics? In the 2nd Adhyaya, Bhagavan describes Sita Prajna, values of the Sita Prajna, who is a wise, enlightened person. Here, Bhagavan is describing in the 13th Adhyaya the values Sadguna Sampatti with all of us who are on the path to experience, to identify the truth, who are on this path to understand, to know the truth. We all seekers, Jignasu. For all of us, these are common, Samanya values, which are very beautiful values. And these values, only what it does is it gives us the right understanding with which we can use the right mindset, and we can, with this mindset, we can come into action, in the right actions in this world, through which we can then develop a very harmonious kind of a personality where our mind, intellect and our actions are all aligned with each other, which Bhagavana very commonly uses the word Yukta. Yukta is the personality which is aligned personality, which is a very straightforward, simple personality, which is a must for assimilating this Atma Jnana. That Intakarana Shuddhi, that Adhikaritva is essential before we understand or assimilate this Atma Jnana. And that's why Bhagavana, before describing the Atma Jnana, he is describing these 20 Sadguna Sampatti. We all need to understand what I really want, what are my fundamental desires, and these are common to all of us. The first that our scriptures tell us, or our Guruji tells us, is that we all want to live. And not just we have a desire to live, and that's why we want to avoid all the diseases, we want to avoid all the problems. That's why we exercise, we eat and we drink and we be happy, we be merry. Whatever we do is all because we want to live. And not just we want to live, but we always want to live. Even at the fag end of 90 years of age, when the body is not able to cope up, it's very weak, but still people want to live, and they want to live always. So that is the Nitya. That is what I want. That is my basic desire, to be ever present Nitya, and that is what is called as the Sat, or the Nityatva. The second desire that we all have is to know. We see right from the childhood, a child wants to know everything. When you give him a toy, he wants to break it apart and see what is inside. And this is how we want to know what is behind this. All our endeavors, efforts, our pravrutti, everything is for knowing, for knowledge, to gather knowledge. That's why we read the newspapers, we see the mobiles, we go to television, see the news, because we want to know what is happening. And this knowing does not stop. We always want to keep knowing, want to increase knowing. Then this is the Gnana Swarupa of ours. And this is called the Chit part of ours, our own Swarupa. And the third is that whatever we do in our life, we want to be happy. Nobody wants sadness. Nobody wants to be dukhi. Nobody wants pain in their life. They all want pleasure. And whatever we all do, we earn money. We want to spend time, go out for a vacation, meet people, make friends, all these everything, because we want to be happy. And this also is eternal. We want to be happy always. We don't want to be happy for some time. Then also we want some pain. We don't want that. We want to be Sada or Nitya, or always or ever happy. And this is our third part of our Swarupa, which is called Ananda. And that is, and our scriptures tell us that this Sat, Chit and Ananda is our basic desire for all of us, is nothing but our Atma Swarupa. That is our own Atma Swarupa. That is nothing but the Brahma Swarupa. It's one and the same. And this is what is moksha. And in essence, everybody desires moksha. Though we don't understand that we want moksha, and we keep running around this world thinking that this world will give us what we want. But over a period of years, we understand that whatever we really desire, this world is unable to give us. And that is where we come to the scriptures and understand what is the difference, what the scriptures give us, this vision of what is the fundamental truth, what is the reality, what is the permanent, what is the impermanent. This discrimination, and discrimination is a word, Viveka, which we generally use it in a very negative connotation, but scriptures tell us this discrimination is in a very positive way. We need to clearly differentiate what is permanent, what is impermanent, what is Nitya, what is Anitya, what is Kshetra, what is Kshetragnya, what is Jada, what is Chetana, what is Prakriti, what is Purusha, all these Viveka we need to do, and all these Prakriyas are given in Vedanta with which we can do this Draka, Drashya, Drashta, Drashya, Viveka. All these Viveka we can do and understand and come to the reality, what is the vision of our scriptures. So let us come to this section on the moral values as Bhagavan is showing us. In the Shastriya terminology, this can be called as the Dharma, what we all need to do, which is being described by our scriptures. That is our moral duty, what we need to do. And Shastras tell us that only humans need to be told what is called as Updesha. So because we have the free will to do what we want. The other species, they work through their own instincts, they work through their own basic nature, they don't have the free will to do something, and that's why they will not disturb the environment, atmosphere, climate, or the Prakriti or the nature. They will not disturb it, but humans can do this, and that's why we have to be given us this kind of a moral Updesha or values by Bhagavan. And these values are general code of ethics, what is also called a Samanya Dharma, which applies to all humans irrespective. Because according to our Shastra, we have Samanya Dharma and Vishesh Dharma. Vishesh Dharma means depending on our Varna and our Ashrama, we have Vishesh Dharma. Say for example, for a person who is a soldier, he has a Vishesh Dharma, his duty is different, protecting the country. Somebody who is a Brahmana, his real Vishesh Dharma is different, imparting knowledge, learning, imparting knowledge. So depending on that, our Vishesh Dharma is different. But here what Bhagavan is describing are Samanya Dharma, general codes of moral codes or ethics for all humans. We all need to know this. Sometimes, we say, why should we have scriptures to tell us this? Yes, really, Guruji also tells us that there is no need for scriptures to tell us, because even in Mahabharata, there is a shloka which tells us that what I expect from others, I should do to others. And this is my Samanya Dharma. And what I don't expect from others, I should not do to others. So this is a very, very simple way of expressing Dharma. And for this, we don't need scriptures, Updesha, Guruji, or any reading. If I know that I don't expect to be hurt or hit from others, so I should not do the same to others. I know that somebody talks in harsh words to me, I don't like it, so I should not do it to others. I know that if somebody steals something that belongs to me, I don't like it, so I should not do the same. I should not steal or do anything. If somebody becomes dishonest to me, I don't like it, so I should not be dishonest to others. So these are simple Samanya code of way we can describe that how we can understand Samanya Dharma. And we need to be careful because these moral values have direct relationship with our peace of mind. Atmagnana is much later. We may or may not get Atmagnana. That is a different point of view. But at least in our life, everybody wants peace, contentment, satisfaction, happiness in life. And these Sarva Samanya, the simple, important codes of ethics or moral values give us the peace of mind in life. And if we are not careful, we may get a lot of comforts, a lot of wealth. Yes, but then we will not get the peace of mind because that is not through the path of Dharma. It is Aniti path. And when we get Aniti, then there is a Papa, which is also called the Adrashta Phala, which will come along with it. The Aniti, Vyavahara, Dharma, Dhana, all these, Lakshmi, when it is called Alakshmi. So all these causes, disturbances, and we don't get the peace of mind. The health is not there, and a lot of problems can come up. So ethical values or these moral values are very, very important. And Guruji tells us that it's not just important to know or understand in our buddhi or in our intellect, just to learn them, but they have to imbibe in our life for a positive change in our life. And that is the most important thing, how we can do that. And the second issue that Guruji tells us repeatedly is that these are like mirror for our own self. This is not something, this is for to look within. They are beautiful for our own introspection. We can see day in and out where I have this kind of a craving or desire and how I can get out of these kind of cravings or desires that we have in our mind, which work very sukshma. It becomes a part of us. We don't even realize that we have this kind of vices in us. And this understanding that Bhagavan is telling us, Guruji describes it in so much great details. It's not for the others to follow. It is for me to follow. It is a benchmark lamppost for myself. I don't have to, constantly urge others to follow these moral values. It is for me that I need to follow. So this is something that Guruji always stresses when she describes all these values in great details. Spiritual journey is like carving out an idol from a stone. The first step in a spiritual journey is to chisel off all the evil qualities, the asuri gunas or asuri sampattis, because these are something that we all have in our own self. We have to identify them, weed them out of our life. Gradually, it's a gradual process. It's not overnight. It's not very easy also. First, we have to be aware that these are the ones that we have, and then gradually with understanding, with awareness, with sajagta, with this understanding that spirituality gives us, we have to get this off our life. And then we have to imbibe some sadgunas, the good values or the moral values which Bhagavan is describing here. And this will beautify. It will become like ornaments after wearing clothes. When we wear ornaments, it beautifies the body. Similarly, this sadguna will beautify our personality, and it will give us contentment, peace in our life. And of course, finally, we will become eligible to receive and hold the Atma Jnana or the Brahma Jnana, which is the essence of all the knowledge that Bhagavan is trying to give us here in Gita Ji. And there is a great difference between just to know and to practice in life. And knowing is the first step. But finally, unless we practice this in our life, we make a change, a positive change in our life. It is very, very heartening to know that though it is difficult to change our age-old habits, which are deeply rooted in automated behavior, but it is very heartening to know that, yes, it is definitely possible to change our behavior, which is automated, which is rooted in our childhood and our experience and our learning, how we have developed those kind of attitudes, impulses, how we react to different situations in our life. But if we become aware of this, we can change our reaction. We can become more proactive. We can, respond better after thinking, after understanding. And with this Sadguna Sampatti, which have been beautifully described by Guruji in great length, for 20 Sadgunas, she has given an Updesha of about 20 hours and has described each and every in detail. So we will also look at it in a little bit more detail. And Swami Dayanand Ji always says that these values will become valuable to us only when would it become valuable to us? They will become valuable. A value is a value, Swamiji says, only when I see the value of the value as valuable to me. So in essence, I must see that this value, this moral value, each little value is very valuable for me. When I'm able to see this value of the value, then these values will become valuable to me. Otherwise, they will not have any value for me. So this is a very beautiful statement. Comes from Swamiji, Swami Dayanand Ji Maharaj, who repeatedly says this in his Updesha. So let us first chant these 5 shlokas which describe this 20 Sadguna, and then we will start looking at each separately, each value in details. Amanitvam adambhitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham stairyamaatma vinigraha indriyartheshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam asaktirana bhishvangaha putradara gruhadishu nityam cha samachittatvam ishtanishtopapatishu mai chananya yogena bhaktiravyavicharini vivitta desha sevitvam aratirjana sansadi adhyatma gnana nityatvam tattva gnanartha darshanam Etach jnanamiti proktam ajnanam yadatonyatha. So let us start with the first shloka, the seventh shloka, which describes 9 sadgunas: amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, shanti, arjavam, acharyopasanam, shaucham, stairyam, atma vinigraha. So let us see amanitvam. Amanitvam is absence of desire for the respect from others. We all have a lot of desire that everybody should praise me often. And this desire for self-praise, manitva, makes us a lot unhappy. And that's why we keep bragging about our own self, about our possessions, about what we have, about what we are, about my qualifications, my experience, my whatever I'm doing. We keep bragging. And this manitva is the root cause of our problems, because then we start expecting that the others should give me this respect. And when others don't give me the due respect that I think I deserve, I become unhappy, I become sad, I become hurtful, and then I have a dvesh for that person, that he is not, or he or she is not giving me enough respect. And this happens very commonly with subordinates, our colleagues, our friends, our workers who work for us, and this is a big problem. So how we can understand and how we can come out of this? Amanitvam. Adambitvam. Adambitvam means dambha, absence of pretense or hypocrisy. Dambha means hypocrisy or pretense. We don't have something, we want to show off that we have something, and this absence of this pretense, and all of us have this kind of a slightly atishayokti. We use exaggeration to, in our routine work, in our routine vyavahara, in our routine actions, in our relationships with others, in our communication with others, we use this exaggeration very commonly because we want to show our importance, our what we have, and this is hypocrisy. And this absence of this pretense or absence of hypocrisy is adambitva. Ahimsa. Ahimsa is non-violence, and Guruji is describing this in great detail. Shanti. Shanti is forgiveness or glad acceptance of whatever is the situation, and happily forgiving, accommodating, being flexible. That is what is called as Shanti. Arjavam. Arjavam is simplicity, being straightforward, being one in our body, mind, intellect, so that whatever we think, whatever we speak, whatever we do, everything is aligned in one straight line. There is no discordance in all this, and that is the simplicity, the straightforwardness, the honesty. Acharya Upasanam. Acharya Upasanam means taking shelter of a guru, because this gnana, something that this understanding, only a guru who has been, parampara with, who has learned from the tradition of this Guru Shishya Parampara, can understand and can pass on this knowledge. Shaucham. Shaucham means purity. And purity is not just outer purity in terms of our body, our clothes, and our cleanliness and our hygiene. Though this is very important, but the more important here in Adhyatmic or in spiritual is the inner purity of our mind, and that is very, very important. Stairyam. Stairyam means steadfastness, being or having great resolve, being determined in our approach, in our discipline, and taking the path and then following that path. Stairyam, that is the steadfastness of our mind and our intellect. And Atma Vinigraha means control over our mind, our self-control, so that whatever we wish to do, we can do. Nothing happens, not even one word is uttered without our understanding, without our awareness. That kind of Atma Vinigraha, control, is what Bhagwan says. So he's describing the first 9 moral values in this first shloka, which we will see in more details, because Guruji describes this in great details. It's very important for all of us seekers, and that's why Guruji will describe in details what is the cause, the root cause behind this, how we can understand each and every value, how we can understand what are the benefits and what are the loss of not following these values, what are the benefits of following these values, how we can know that this is deficient in me, and then what are the solutions, how we can overcome these values, and how we can imbibe these moral values in our life, and how we can change our life, will be described in great details. In the next session, we will devote 2 sessions to this description of these values, because these are all very, very important for us and have been very beautifully described by Guru Ma. So with this, we come to the end of this session. गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परः ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति।